Picture this. Imagine walking into a small family-run jewellery shop on a quiet Bradford street and finding millions of pounds in cash stacked everywhere. Sports bags, takeaway boxes, even toy containers. How does a seemingly ordinary business become the hub of a £266 million money laundering operation? And how did these intelligent professional people get caught up in criminal activity without even realising it? Well, today we are diving deep into one of the UK's most astonishing financial crimes and some of the behaviour behind it. For this series, I have studied the stories, the court documents, news reports, and all the research to help you understand how these situations have unfolded, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from economic crime. Today's story is not just about money. It's really about human decision-making, about escalation, and all the subtle traps that even the most experienced people fall into. Our story begins in Yorkshire between 2014 and 2016 at a small jewellery shop called Fowler Oldfield. Now, on the surface, it was just a legitimate business buying scrap gold, melting it down and trading in it. By sort of 2012, the company was handling about 11,000 in cash, small routine amounts. But by 2013, this figure had jumped to hundreds of thousands, and by 2015, nearly £95 million was flowing through that business. Investigators later discovered that in less than 3 years, over £266 million had passed through them accounts. Now, that's more than £250 million. That money did not come from selling scrap jewellery. Now, the couriers were arriving daily with cash in sports bags, carrier bags, gift-wrapped toy boxes, even takeaway containers. And on some days, £1.7 million was delivered in a single day. Inside, the staff there used these professional bank-grade counting machines to tally up the money, and trusted cash in transit companies like G4S and the post office were then sent to transport the funds to the bank. Now, the money wasn't just sat there either. Once there, it was used to purchase gold grain, untraceable tiny pieces of gold that could be moved internationally. This wasn't a bunch of amateurs playing around. This was a sophisticated laundering operation. So, how did it all unravel? Well, in 2016, one of them transit companies thought that the volume of cash being deposited was unusual. And from there, the West Yorkshire Police executed a search warrant in September 16. And that's when they found these rooms stacked with cash, counting machines still warm, and the staff standing silently, unable to explain the scale of the operation. On that particular day, 2.1 million in cash was seized. Investigators later uncovered all the encrypted messages, the coded tokens, passwords for couriers, and studied about 8,000 hours of CCTV capturing all these daily cash deliveries. After a 5-month trial, 4 men were ultimately convicted and jailed for their roles in this money laundering enterprise through what had appeared to be an ordinary jewellery business. But here's the really interesting part, talking about the behaviour. Now, this might not have felt like a crime to those people involved, the team in the shop, counting the cash, running the day-to-day business. Because it didn't start as a £250 million operation, it was just a small thing that escalated over time. And this is where the human behaviour comes into play. At first, there's this normalisation of deviance. When something starts small, what would shock you on day one just feels like ordinary business practice by year 3. Then there's an element of moral disengagement, so where you've got operators not really seeing themselves as criminals. They're just processing cash, they're running the day-to-day. Even if they've got the suspicions or the outright knowledge, they could well have convinced themselves otherwise. And finally, that diffusion of responsibility. When the work is spread across multiple people, no one feels fully accountable. It's all routine, the diligence, the paperwork, the illusion of legitimacy, all hiding this enormous financial crime in plain sight. So how do you spot the traps? Well, always question what seems normal. I think we're not cynical enough. Watch for that gradual escalation and never assume shared responsibility. Just doing what everyone else is doing removes your sense of ethical duty. Pay attention to these routines that seem too convenient. These are often the red flags of big problems. If you're interested in understanding how intelligent, experienced people make catastrophic decisions that lead to crime and how to protect yourself from the same traps, please subscribe now. Next time, we're going to be looking at what happened to one of the most recognisable names in British sport, an absolute hero figure in my household growing up with my dad, who was a massive Newcastle United fan. Don't forget to mind the money and watch the mind. We'll see you next time.